You don't spend 30 years building an empire just to have your own blood tear it apart in one night. I thought I had it all. A billion-dollar company, respect from every boardroom I walked into, a penthouse overlooking Manhattan, and a son I believed would carry my legacy forward. Turns out, I was wrong about. Hit the subscribe button and like my video for more interesting stories. At least one of those things. It started on a Tuesday morning. I was in my home office, coffee in hand, when Martin, my CFO, barged in looking like he'd seen a ghost. "Jake," he said, shutting the door behind him. "We have a problem." I set my mug down slowly. Martin wasn't the type to rattle easily. "What kind of problem?" He hesitated, which made my stomach twist. "There's been a transfer," he said carefully. "How much?" I asked. $120 million, he said, almost whispering. For a second, I just stared at him. "That's impossible. Our security was bypassed," he said. "Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. It was surgical, clean, but we traced it." "Traced it to who?" Martin slid a folder across my desk. My heart sank before I even opened it. "Ethan Connors. My son." I remember sitting there for a long time, staring at that name like if I glared hard enough it would turn into someone else's. But it didn't. 2 hours later, I was sitting in the living room of my penthouse, waiting for Ethan to show up. I kept telling myself there had to be some explanation. A mistake. A setup. Anything. He finally walked in, grinning like he didn't have a care in the world. Designer sneakers, leather jacket, perfect hair. "Dad," he said casually. "What's up?" I didn't answer. I just gestured to the chair across from me. "Sit." He frowned but sat down. I slid the folder toward him. "You want to explain this?" He glanced at it, then looked back up at me with a smirk. Not shock. Not guilt. A damn smirk. "Oh," he said. "You found out." Those 3 words hit me harder than a punch to the face. "You stole $120 million, I said slowly, my voice shaking with fury. "From the company," he said with a shrug. "Which I'm going to inherit anyway. So really, I just sped things up." I stood so fast the chair tipped over behind me. "Sped things up? You think you're entitled to rob me because you're my son?" He didn't even flinch. "I've been working for you for years, Dad. Waiting for my turn. But you were never going to let go. You love being in control too much. You don't see me as a partner. You see me as some kid who still has to prove himself. This isn't about control," I snapped. "This is about betrayal. You went behind my back and gutted my company." He leaned back in the chair, crossing his arms. "Call it what you want. I call it taking what's mine." I stared at him. "Where's the money now?" "With Claire," he said, and I swear there was pride in his voice. Claire. Of course. The gold-digging girlfriend I had warned him about since day one. The woman who looked at my son like he was a lottery ticket she had just scratched and won. "You gave my life's work to your girlfriend," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "She's not just my girlfriend." Ethan shot back. "She believes in me. More than you ever did." I stepped closer until we were eye to eye. "You think this is love? She's bleeding you dry, son. And when she's done, she'll move on to the next rich idiot who doesn't know better." His jaw tightened. "At least she doesn't treat me like a child." I could feel the heat rising in my chest, my heart pounding in my ears. "You just burned every bridge you had with me," I said. "You're not my partner anymore. You're not even my son right now." For just a second, something flickered in his eyes, guilt, maybe, but it disappeared as quickly as it came. "Then I guess we're done here," he said coldly, and stood to leave. "You're going to regret this," I said quietly. He stopped at the door but didn't turn around. "Good luck with that," he said, and then he was gone. I stood there in the silence, my hands shaking. I had given that boy everything. The best schools, the best opportunities, everything I never had. And he'd thank me by robbing me blind and handing my money to a woman who didn't give a damn about him. I looked out over the city, the skyline glowing against the night. "All right, Ethan," I said to the empty room. "You want war? You've got one." I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ethan's smug face. I heard his voice. I just sped things up. By dawn, the anger had burned into something colder. Something sharper. If Ethan wanted war, I was going to give him one he'd never forget. The first thing I did was call the best private investigator I knew, Lucas Grant. Lucas wasn't some cliché trenchcoat and fedora detective. He was ex-military intelligence, ex-NSA, and had a Rolodex full of hackers who owed him favors. If someone farted in the next state, Lucas could probably tell you what they had for lunch. He showed up at my penthouse by 8 a.m., calm as always. "You look like hell," he said, taking in my unshaven face and bloodshot eyes. "I'm fine," I said. "I need you to find everything on my son and his girlfriend. Where they live, where they spend money, who they talk to. I want it all." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "That's a lot of surveillance. What exactly are you planning?" "I'm planning to burn their little fantasy world to the ground," I said flatly. Lucas studied me for a moment, then nodded. "All right. But this is going to cost." I gave him a humorless smile. "Lucas, I just lost $120 million. Do I look like a man worried about the bill?" By noon, I had a small war room set up in my office, monitors showing transaction logs, maps of Ethan's last known locations, dossiers on Claire. What I learned made my blood boil. Claire wasn't just a gold digger, she was a professional. Multiple aliases. A past full of relationships with wealthy men, each ending with her walking away with a small fortune. And Ethan? He was blind to all of it. The fool was living in some penthouse with her, popping champagne like he'd earned a damn thing in his life. I poured myself a drink and stared at the screen showing their smiling faces at some exclusive club 2 nights ago. "You think you won," I muttered. "But this is just the first inning." Step 1 was cutting off Ethan's access to anything I still controlled. I called Martin, my CFO. "Freeze every one of Ethan's company accounts, effective immediately. Pull back all credit lines tied to him. And transfer the Connors Trust into a new holding company with me as sole trustee." "That's extreme," Martin said carefully. "So is robbing me of $120 million. I snapped. "Do it now." By the end of the day, Ethan's cards were declined. His access badges to company buildings stopped working. I didn't get a call from him until the next morning. "Dad," he said as soon as I picked up, sounding annoyed. "My cards aren't working. My apartment concierge says I don't have access anymore." "What the hell is going on?" "What's going on?" I said, keeping my voice calm. "Is that you stole from me. Actions have consequences. You can't just cut me off," he shouted. "I can. And I did. This is ridiculous. Claire and you are on your own now," I said and hung up. Lucas called me later that night with new intel. "Got something you might want to hear," he said. "Your future daughter-in-law isn't exactly faithful. She's seeing another guy on the side. 2, actually. Names?" Lucas smirked. "Already in your inbox. And one of them is a hedge fund manager who thinks he's her only boyfriend." A slow, cold smile spread across my face. "Good," I said. "Let's make him an ally." 2 days later, I met with the hedge fund guy, a sharp-looking man named Victor, in a quiet, upscale bar. "She's been playing you," I told him, sliding photos across the table. Claire in a hotel lobby. Claire kissing Ethan. Claire kissing someone else. Victor's jaw clenched as he looked at the evidence. "She said Ethan was just a fling," he muttered. "She's lying," I said simply. "And she's sitting on $120 million of my money. You want payback?" Victor's eyes darkened. "What do you have in mind?" What I had in mind was simple: ruin Claire first, then Ethan. Victor agreed to help me. Together, we started leaking just enough information to the right gossip columnists to get whispers going. Photos of Claire out with multiple men, anonymous tips about suspicious bank transfers. Within a week, headlines started popping up. Billionaire heir caught in $120 million family feud. Who is Claire Matthews? Mystery girlfriend linked to multiple lovers. And just like that, the picture-perfect world Ethan had built started to crack. I didn't confront him right away. I wanted to let the pressure build, let him stew in it. But I did send him a single text. Me. Enjoying the spotlight? This is just the beginning. No response. But Lucas told me later that Ethan smashed a glass against the wall when he saw it. Good. I wanted him angry. I wanted him reckless. Because the more reckless he got, the easier it would be to destroy him. This was just the opening salvo. I hadn't even started to make him suffer yet. By the third week, Ethan was falling apart. Lucas fed me updates every day. Ethan's startup was dead, investors pulling out one by one. His friends were ghosting him. Claire had stopped going out with him in public, afraid of the media circus. The kid had never faced real hardship before, and I could see it in every report I got. He looked more tired in each new paparazzi shot, thinner, angrier. And still, he hadn't apologized. That was fine. I wasn't done with him yet. I decided it was time to end Claire. Victor, my new unlikely ally, helped me set the trap. We arranged for Claire's accounts to be frozen by quietly alerting authorities to the suspicious transfer history. It only took one call from a very persuasive IRS contact to get her flagged. 3 days later, Lucas sent me a video from a phone camera. Claire screaming at Ethan in their penthouse. "This is your fault," she yelled. "My fault?" Ethan shouted back. "You're the one who said we should take it. You told me it was safe," she snapped. "Now my accounts are frozen, the feds are calling me, and your father is trying to destroy me." Ethan's face turned red. "You think he's just coming after you? He's coming after me too." Claire laughed bitterly. "You think I'm going down with you? I'm not some idiot in love with a trust fund baby. I'm out." And then she walked out, slamming the door. Lucas rewound the video, zooming in on Ethan's face as Claire left. "That's a man who just realized he lost everything," Lucas said. I stared at the screen for a long moment. "No," I said. "Not yet." I called Ethan that night. He picked up on the third ring, voice hoarse. "What do you want?" "To talk," I said simply. "Meet me tomorrow. Noon. My office." There was a long pause. "Fine," he said and hung up. When he walked into my office the next day, he looked like a ghost of himself. His perfect hair was a mess, there were dark circles under his eyes, and for the first time in years he looked small, like the boy I used to carry on my shoulders. I didn't offer him a seat. "So," I said, leaning against my desk. "How's the empire?" He glared at me. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "Immensely," I said. "How's Claire?" His jaw tightened. "She left." I raised an eyebrow. "Shocking." "Cut the crap, Dad," he snapped. "You've made your point. You froze my money, you ruined my name, you scared her off. Congratulations. You win." I stepped closer until I was right in front of him. "You think this is about winning?" I said softly. "You stole from me. You betrayed me. And then you stood in my house and told me you didn't care. That you deserved it. You haven't even said you're sorry." Ethan's shoulders slumped. "You wouldn't have listened," he said quietly. "Try me," I said. There was a long silence before he spoke again. "I just wanted to matter," he said finally. "I wanted to prove I could do something without you holding my hand. You never trusted me with anything real. So I took it." I stared at him, my anger warring with something I hadn't felt in weeks. Pity. "You think stealing made you a man?" I said. "You think handing my money to some woman who was using you proved anything?" You didn't just hurt me, Ethan. You hurt yourself. His eyes were wet now, though he was trying to hide it. I know, he whispered. I let that hang in the air for a moment before I spoke again. I'm not sending you to prison, I said finally. Though God knows I could. I'm not even taking the rest of what you stole. He blinked at me. You're not? No, I said. Because I don't want to ruin you. I want to rebuild you. The right way. He frowned. What does that mean? It means you're going to work for me, I said. At the very bottom. No special treatment, no executive title. You're going to earn your way back into this family, one paycheck at a time. And when you've proven you can be trusted, maybe then I'll let you back in. Ethan stared at me, stunned. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious, I said. You've been handed everything your whole life. Time to see what it feels like to build something from nothing. And if I say no, then you're on your own, I said simply. For good. He showed up on Monday. I watched from my office window as he walked into the building wearing a plain company badge, no designer jacket, no entourage. He looked nervous. Over the next year, I kept my distance, but I watched him. I watched him work long hours, watched him screw up, watched him get chewed out by supervisors who didn't know he was my son. And slowly, I watched him change. By the end of the second year, he came to my office one afternoon and set a thick file on my desk. This is the pitch for the new security platform, he said. We can save the company millions if we move forward with it. But we'd have to delay the shareholder bonus this quarter to fund it. I studied him. You realize if we delay that bonus, you won't get a payout either. He nodded. It's what's best for the company. For the first time in a long time, I smiled at him. Good, I said. Then let's do it. Months later, we stood together on the balcony of my penthouse, looking out at the city. You know, I said, I didn't just take my money back. He glanced at me. What do you mean? I took back my son, I said quietly. He didn't answer, just nodded, eyes shining in the city lights. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we were going to be alright. Jake doesn't just get revenge, he rebuilds Ethan into someone worthy of his legacy, making this a dark but ultimately redemptive ending.